Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
No. Hey, Matt.
Light side force users, starting at number 5. Let's do this. Matt Beseda, hit me.
Can I start with a honorable? Actually, no, never mind. My number 5 is a very powerful Jedi, a very, I would say, conservative Jedi, but also had an edge to him, a little rebellious. So complete opposites of what I just said.
Yeah, right.
But I think it will make sense when I say the name, and I'm going to go with Qui-Gon Jinn.
I know that's what you're going to say. Yeah.
I do not have him on my list.
I also don't have him on my list, so let's go. Let's dig into Qui-Gon. Yeah, Matt, you're shocked. Prequel fans everywhere feeling disrespected. Sorry.
I guess I just feel that the Qui-Gon, I don't know, when I think of a classic Jedi and
it's the hair.
You know, it's the hair, but it's also God, he was so good at you know, he was a negotiator. He was
Yeah, he had a way with people, but he also being a practitioner of the living force and like that whole concept. Like I get where you're coming from, how he was different. He was an outlier, but he was still like that classic Jedi feel to him.
Yeah, don't forget he was the Padawan of Count Dooku.
Yep.
Right.
So there's that edge to him, you know.
He's part of that weird ass lineage.
Yeah, he also invented the Force Ghost.
Yeah, he was the one that figured that out.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah. I wish we got to see more of him. I was thrilled with his 10-second cameo in Kenobi. I think that's just the perfect touch right there at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, to get someone to come in and shoot and put all this shit on to just
just stand there for a minute. We're gonna make you a ghost, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, this may be because I'm very high on episode 1 right now, but yeah, my thing is Qui-Gon.
Well, I mean, he's an incredibly important character in the saga, despite only appearing in one film. I do think it's crazy that I feel like I've heard there's a deleted scene of Revenge of the Sith where he does appear as a Force ghost to Obi-Wan. I don't know if I've actually seen that scene or not, but I think it's crazy that they wouldn't have put that in the movie.
I don't
tie the movie to the first one. It seems like it would have been a great.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually him.
It's not actually him.
Well,
there was, but it corrected itself.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was one of those scenes where it was on the drawing board and it never came to fruition.
Oh, they never really filmed it.
Yeah.
Just storyboards.
I feel like that would have been great to a little tag for that film. But even that he's just in Phantom Menace. I mean, he's the one that finds Anakin. He's like a believer in the prophecy. You know, I feel like what you were saying, you were kind of setting him up. You called him like a conservative Jedi, but also like, you know, a little bit of a defiant. And you were saying that counteracts itself. But it's part of it's like he's, you know, the council doesn't necessarily believe in the prophecy as strongly as he does. Like he's someone that's believing in this like old tale, he's like an Orthodox Jedi or something, which
Well,
in turn
that's
kind of
what I was
makes him
going-
more
Yeah.
defiant.
Yep.
Because he believes in this interpretation of the ancient Jedi text or whatever that that other people are ignoring or not really paying attention to or whatever. Like,
Or
but
burning in
he's
later
the
movies.
Yeah. Because of that, he brings in Anakin for better or for worse. And no one else really would have done that. No other Jedi would have done that.
Right.
Other than
Right.
him, because he believed in it so strongly. So like he is a devout Jedi,
Yeah.
in his own way.
Yeah.
In that, you don't, and that he like Liam Neeson like plays it that way, the way he carries himself and like the way he delivers his lines, and I think that, it's hard to imagine another. I don't know. It's hard to imagine another Jedi doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
doing things that doesn't menace.
the word you used, orthodox, was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Because that's sort of, when you use the term orthodox, for an Orthodox Jewish person, it's someone who is set in the, by the book.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Sure.
And that's sort of what he reminds me of. He's almost too much because they don't allow him on the council, and
Yeah, like they don't like him.
No.
Yeah.
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 So if you're going by the book with your option, mine's going to be very unconventional for my number 5.
Right.
It will be one Caleb Doom, aka Kanan
Ah.
Jarrus.
Wow. Not talking about him yet.
Okay.
My number 5 is someone that I don't think we'll be talking about yet. My number 5 is Ahsoka Tano.
No, we're not talking about her yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. All right, Matt, what's your number 4? Light side Force user. Get some discussions going
If
here.
Ahsoka's a...
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you're not... Yeah, okay.
I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Like, maybe a little bit.
My 6 through 15 are very unique, but my 1 through 5 are not.
Okay. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
My number 4, is Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, we're not talking
Wow.
about him yet.
We're not talking about him yet. That's a low ranking for what I expected from you, Matt. I'm surprised. Not saddened or
I know.
disheartened in any way. I'm just surprised.
All right, my
I'm
number...
looking at my 7 Luke Skywalker Funkos over there, and they're all looking at me with disgust.
Oh, yeah, I forgot my visual for Kanan.
Oh yeah, no, nice.
Forgot we're a visual medium, so I grabbed all the books I could.
I forget that all the time. We're a visual medium as well.
Uh,
So Steve, number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is the chosen one himself, Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin Skywalker.
I'd assume we're not talking about him yet.
Are we talking about Anakin, Matt?
We're not talking about him yet.
I didn't think so. My number 4, someone we might be talking about. I don't know. My number 4 is Rey.
Wow.
Okay.
Talking about Rey?
Matt, we talking about Ray?
I'm gonna surprise you a bit. She's not on my list.
Wow, that's also surprising for me,
Yeah.
Matthew.
Yeah.
All right.
I love Ray. What an incredible character.
Well, you could have put her on your list.
It's number 7 for me.
Now,
I love her as well. I think she's an incredible character. She gets a lot of undeserved flack, similar to how we talked about Kylo Ren, I
Yeah.
think. You hear people hate her because she didn't struggle like Luke. It's like, yeah, I don't like how much does
Whatever.
Luke struggle? I don't know what you're talking about. Like how much struggle do you want? She
Yeah.
literally dies in episode 9.
Right.
He comes back to life. Like,
I mean, outside of his dad cutting his arm off, Luke didn't struggle for anything.
Yeah, and also,
and
I mean,
his uncle telling him to not go to Tashi Station, like
yeah, and he just whines about it, just
right.
being
Then
treated
it's
like
fine.
a regular teenager. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Rey is a character who you know so much about before she even says a word in The Force Awakens. That movie, one of the best things that Force Awakens does is tell you who the characters are. It defines its characters incredibly well and incredibly quickly. You know, before she even says a word of dialogue, you know that she's been stuck on that planet for a long time, simultaneously dreams of leaving, but also is terrified to leave, to seek something better for herself, that she's scared of growing up and being stuck there her whole life. However, it feels like she can't leave. And despite all this, despite growing up in pretty shitty conditions on a pretty shitty planet, she's still an incredibly kind person. And she has been quote unquote raised, I guess, by this Unkar Plutt character, or has been a big figure in her life who has taught her about fixing ships and flying and all this stuff like that. We know that she already knows how to fight. She's that staff. Like she's her own person. She doesn't need someone else to come in and tell her what she should be doing. Like there's a little bit of that in New Hope, where like if Luke didn't run into Obi-Wan's like, you need to come to Alderaan with me and learn the ways of the Force like your dad. And he's like, no. Like she already has like found kind of who she is as best she can in the place that she is in, which is not a place that she chose to be in. And then once she is able to leave, she's able to continue to explore herself and find who she is and use what she already knows in practical application in better ways. But her problem, her struggle, if you're desperate for a struggle for this character, she doesn't believe in herself. She doesn't have confidence because of where she came from, because of who she is. She doesn't believe that she could be the answer. Like she's like, oh, Han Solo, you're gonna be the Resistance needs you or whatever. Or, oh, I need to go find Luke Skywalker. The Resistance needs you. Like, oh, it's gonna be Ben. I'm gonna go train. Like, Ben's gonna turn. Like, no, Rey, it is you. You are the one that the Resistance needs. That she doesn't realize that until the very end of Last Jedi and into Rise of Skywalker.
So you mentioned Rey, like us having Rey defined before she even speaks a word.
Yeah.
You know what 99% of that is? John Williams. Because as soon as you said that score, like Rey's theme with that flute going into that like cello drop went through my head, and I was just like, yeah, that's her in a nutshell.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree that it's 99% of it. I mean, John Williams plays into all these the themes that John Williams writes for these characters helps define them immeasurably.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot of the writing and the direction and the cinematography of that film.
The cinematography of that was amazing too. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, it shows her leaving that the Star Destroyer and going to the station that I'm forgetting the name of or whatever. But like there's like wide sweeping shots which shows you like the planet, but it also shows you like how by herself she is.
Yeah.
Like she's doing this alone. And she has to travel this far to get to other people who treat her like shit, and it's a shitty place. And she doesn't want to be there, so she goes and hangs out in her little
and gets
where she feels comfortable, where she feels at home.
And gets almost no reward for it, no money
1/4 portion.
Food at Nima Outpost.
Nima Outpost, that's what it was.
Yeah. See how I worked that in there? I was like, I know this one.
All right, I'll retrofit it to like 65%, Mike.
Sure.
Okay.
It's so and we see her sticking up for a droid and the whole Telma Parkwa scene, and it just was such an incredible character.
I agree. Yeah, I love her.
Absolutely. And
so anyway, Rey is my number 4.
So as dumb as this sounds, Rey is my 7 on my light side list, but I feel like I like her more than I like Kylo Ren, who is number 5 on my dark side list. I feel like there's just more light side users that have had an impact on me.
I think I agree. I like honestly like I'm confident in my dark side list, but I don't know that I could make a top. I don't think I can make a top 15 dark side users list because I just don't know that many of them because I haven't read the books, I haven't read the comics, like, and they don't give you a ton of dark side users in the movies, really, or even in the series. Like that's kind of what you get. Like, I would have to dip into the Night Sisters, like you were saying.
Right. And if I had to compile a top 10 all-time Force users, like, I mean, outside of Maul and Vader, I don't know if anybody else in my top 5 makes my top 10.
Right. Sure.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So,
all right. So we're on to number 3.
3 for Matt.
The Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker.
All right. Well, Anakin's not on my list, so we can talk about him.
Okay. That's well, in all honesty, like I was trying to figure out who you left off to throw Rey in there compared to my list, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's it. That's got to be it.
The faces that Matt is giving me when I'm dropping these
well,
numbers are crazy.
It's the whole time I'm like, okay, how's he gonna blow this up like he did last year, and then not blow it up in a bad way?
Not really.
But,
no. Yeah.
No, I know. I respect it, and Anakin, and his struggles and his turn, is the basis of the first 6 movies. He, like we discussed, Clone Wars, enhanced him a great deal. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, Clone Wars and Ahsoka. Like, as dumb as it sounds, were it not for Clone Wars into those Hayden scenes and the World Between Worlds scene and all that in Ahsoka, it's like that further brought him up. Like, he might not have made my top 5 were it not for that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, what's up?
I was gonna say that, I mean, the reason that he's not in my top 5 is that the way that he's portrayed in the prequels, which is my introduction to him.
Mm-hmm.
And then even in Clone Wars, I mean, he's great in Clone Wars, but it's not like he's not the main character of Clone Wars. It's not like he's not even in every episode. He's in a lot of them, and some of them are great, but it's never
just him.
It's never just him. Has not been a piece of Star Wars media that has given me a deep personal connection to Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
In a way. And like, as I said in the beginning, I was kind of going up like, do they use the Force? Yes. And then ranking just, are they my favorite character? And Anakin isn't. So
yeah. No, it makes sense.
I am not at all saying that he's not an important character. He's clearly one of the most important characters in the entire saga, and probably maybe the best Jedi of all time, just like skill wise speaking.
Yeah.
Certainly one of the most powerful ever. So
he is the chosen one.
Any point that you two are going to make about Anakin Skywalker, I'm not going to disagree with at all. But like, if we're ranking favorites, he's not going to be in my top 5.
Fair enough.
That's all I'll say about it.
Matt, did you have anything else on Anakin or?
No, I think everything's been said. He, the portrayal, now that I think about it, I think Anakin is the only character that's been portrayed 3 different ways, through animation, through
2 different actors.
Yeah, Jake Lloyd and Hayden Christensen, which is kind
of
interesting.
Don't forget Matt Lanter.
No, I know. I just he said animation.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, Matt Lanter as well.
Yeah.
Matt. He was the one who voiced him in Clone Wars.
Yep.
Right. That's what I meant. And Sebastian Shaw, I guess.
True.
Cantaloupe Head. But
Yeah. No, and
yeah.
Anakin, I mean, I think what Lantern did with him, and like, I guess to a degree, you have the Mortis arc, which is very heavily Anakin. You have a lot of heavy Anakin stuff. But yeah, you're right. I don't know how much is just him.
Right.
But he's still like, I don't know. His stuff, especially like I said, Clone Wars and the Ahsoka stuff resonated with me. So, my number 3, I don't think we're talking about now. The Farm Boy.
Luke Skywalker?
Yes.
We're not talking about
Yeah.
No.
Well, since we've had Anakin at 3, then is this where the fun begins, Mike? Who's your number 3?
My number 3, someone we're about to talk about, because I don't think they're on Matt's list. My number 3 is Kanan Jarrus.
Okay.
/ Caleb Doom. However you want to say. He's always Kanan to me.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I love him so much. Like, it takes a lot for me to put him at number 3. And I think he's the only one that I would put under my number. I mean, this is an obvious thing that I'm ranking them, but like,
right.
If it weren't for number 2 and 1, he would be number 1. I guess that's a stupid thing to say because that's what ranking is.
No, and I get you though.
Yeah.
I get exactly what you're saying because and again, going into that show, did you ever think Freddie Prinze Jr. would be your favorite Star Wars character, one of your favorite Star Wars characters?
No.
When they announced that, I was
all.
like, really? Okay.
Yeah. Not at all. I think I like him so much because his story is so different from other Jedi or other Force users that we see. Like, he is someone who witnessed Order 66, escaped it, fled, is on the run, is in hiding, is, has to hide the fact that he is a Jedi for fear of his life. That's like, until Fallen Order, the video game, we hadn't seen that kind of story for a Jedi. I think he has to it's up to him to complete his own training, kind of, or to continue his own training.
Yeah,
he has to learn things for
holocrons.
himself.
Yeah,
and he has to learn everything for himself. He's another person that despite all of his success in those areas, he's still someone that struggles with his own confidence in himself and his ability to do things. But he does take it upon himself to train Ezra. But he still doubts himself quite a bit. And he, talks to Hera a lot about I don't know if I'm doing this right, or when he's either training Ezra or training Sabine, I don't know if I'm doing this, this might not be the best way, but he pushes through and he succeeds with both those characters. And then, God damn it, he loses his eyesight. And that gives him even a crazier just layer to his character, which is another thing that we hadn't seen in Star Wars before. And he's still able to negotiate through that, and he becomes even more closer to his relationship with the Force deepens through that accident and through him needing, through him being blind.
Accident?
And just
I don't know. That's really an accident. Getting slashed across the face is not really an accident per se.
I mean,
did he step into a lightsaber blade?
He didn't do it to himself on purpose.
Fair. I was just walking and a lightsaber blade.
Yeah.
Just happened to come across my eyes. It's fine.
All right. Incident. I'll say, Mr.
I'm just picturing him tripping and falling and just grazed by a lightsaber. Oh, can't see anymore. All right, fine.
I don't know. I just think
Kanan, what happened? Oh, I ran into a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Not again.
I just think he's an incredibly compelling character and a very unique amongst Jedi characters that we see. But Steve, he was on your list as well, so why don't you talk about Kanan for a little bit?
No, and again, like we've talked, a lot of these characters that we've put in these places are there because of growth and like
Right.
watching this arc. And ultimately my number one is 100% because of that. But like Kanan, when we meet him, is this unsure, like out for himself kind of character that is just doing what he's doing in this crew. And by the end of it, he is the most selfless character around. He is, like you said, successful at learning how to be a teacher, which is not in his nature. And basically being, for lack of a better description, a father figure to this crew.
For sure.
That just ends up, spoiler alert, sacrificing everything in like one of those moments that, like, I don't care who you are, if you've watched that show and you see that scene and you don't like break down or come close to it, you're like, I don't know what's going on. But like that just hit so deep after watching him over 4 seasons of development. And it's just, he was a great character that had a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah. Yep. I love him.
Yep.
Anyway.
Numero dos.
Number 2s. Let's get it, Matt.
Hello there.
Yeah.
I just, when I think about a classic Jedi and everything a Jedi should be, I know we're not talking about Jedi instead, we're talking about Force users, but I mean, so pure, so, General of the Republic,
You just want to say his name real quick.
Oh yes, Ben Quad Gennaro. No, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
And again, maybe it's because I just.
He is my number 2.
Oh.
Okay.
How about you?
He's not on my list.
Okay, there's the wrinkle. I had figured out the classification for the rest of them. That I did not foresee in there. All right.
I don't know that you have, Steve.
Huh?
I don't know.
No, I'm saying what I was calculating.
Oh, okay.
Like I was like,
okay.
Okay, well he's got Ray in there instead, but everything else should trickle. But
yeah,
I don't know. You're throwing some wonky things in here.
I didn't think I was throwing. I guess I thought that you guys would be shocked that Obi-Wan wasn't on my list. I guess I think probably a lot of people probably are shocked that Obi-Wan's not on my list.
Judging by the general populace, yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll get this out of the way since we're talking about it. Similar to Anakin, I think I'm not a prequel fan. Sorry, I'm not a prequel fan. When you look at the prequels and you look at the original trilogy, it just the prequels didn't do a great. Obi-Wan's story specifically, I think the prequels don't really line up with the original trilogy in that way. Like they don't really give a reason why Obi-Wan would straight up lie to Luke Skywalker for so long.
And forget he had a droid and all this other stuff.
Yeah, just lie about having a droid, like all this kind of stuff. Like, what are you?
I mean,
don't understand.
He did not lie. He never once owned R2.
Okay.
Did he own R2?
He didn't. He did not. He didn't say, "I've never owned this droid." He said, "I've never owned a droid," is what he said, which is a lie. He also was, was the other droid that is there. Flew him away from Mustafar after he just left his best friend for dead on the edge of a volcano. So like he knows these droids. He knows both of them.
Right, and he had R4 in his fighter. Like
So anyway, I don't know the whole Yoda and Obi-Wan don't really learn from their mistakes in the prequels. They are so high on their Jedi horses that Darth Sidious is allowed to like sneak in and take them out, and they're clueless. They have no idea that it's even happening, and then they decide to instead of utilizing any like new teachings, they just bestow the same teachings on Luke, which then in turn sets Luke up for failure in the future. So that storyline, the way that is portrayed, kind of dips Obi-Wan down in my rankings. He would certainly be in my top 10, but he's not in my top 5.
See,
So,
now on
anyway.
the flip side of all that,
Yeah,
now that you've
I
shat
don't like
on
I don't like
Obi-Wan.
talking I don't like talking negative stuff. I'm just trying to get through that as fast as I can. Let's talk positive shit about Obi-Wan Kenobi because I love him. He's great.
So on the flip side of that, you are also talking about a character who, through the course of the prequels, was thrown into a complete shit circumstance by the fact that he was like, his master got killed and his dying wish was for him to train this boy who he has no
Something
right to train.
Something he did not want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And the council, for some ungodly reason, actually agrees. I think that's more on them than on Obi-Wan. I think he did as well as he could have with Anakin. He became a great father figure to him. He was one of the few voices of reason through the Galactic Republic's war in the Clone Wars. Yes, towing the company line, but also, trusting Anakin at various points when he needed to. The disconnect between episodes 3 and 4, I'll give you. That's whatever. Various hand wavy bullshit happened. But the dude sacrificed everything to sit on Tatooine and stare at a kid for 20 years to ensure that there's a remote hope that they can defeat this kid's dad. Now that I'm saying this is a really weird concept. However, it really worked.
Yeah, no, it really did. I really like I don't know, that's my 20-foot view of Obi-Wan. I do think he's great in Revenge of the Sith. He's probably my favorite in Revenge of the Sith. I think he's great in Clone Wars, and I really think he's great in his series, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Is that his
show?
Is that his like side show, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show? Does he interview Sith that come on? And
it's a talk show.
Has a heart to heart.
It's him going crazy on Tatooine. No one actually comes on. He just thinks he's talking to people.
He's in his cave just talking.
He builds like a pile of rocks and then he like interviews it. I think it really works for me in that series really works for me because that series takes place after we've seen his journey through these 3 movies, and we know how just again, like someone was saying about Kanan, he's in hiding, he was on the run, it's he's not allowed to be himself, he's gone through this traumatic experience, he thinks he killed his best friend, all this and it's well depicted the weight that has on him in that show. I really think that's great. But back to Phantom Menace, like we talked about, he doesn't really do anything in that whole movie. But as it goes on, his character, regardless of what becomes of his character, he does a lot of really cool stuff and clearly is, I don't know, he's a great Jedi. He's one of the best.
Wow, he really doesn't do much in Phantom Menace.
No, he doesn't do anything.
No, he cuts Maul in half, and that's it.
He sits around and talks until he fights Maul at the end. It's really
even during that fight, he doesn't do a whole hell of a lot until Qui-Gon.
Yeah, because he's stuck behind the energy shield for so long. Yeah,
he's just chilling there.
You're right, Master. The negotiations were short.
Yeah, what a banger joke that is. Just laugh, Ryan.
Guess what? On Sunday, we're gonna have to do that in person.
I can't wait.
I'm wondering.
You mean tomorrow? You mean tomorrow? We're gonna have to do that in person.
Tomorrow,
right?
Sunday.
Yeah, today is May the 4th. We're recording this live, aren't we?
Right, at the as crack of dawn in the morning so that people can see it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've hit R2. We haven't hit R2. I don't think he's force sensitive. But who is your
Matt, did you want to say anything about Obi-Wan? I feel like you didn't say much about Obi-Wan. And he's your number 2.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting dynamic that I'm just thinking about now. I don't know why I haven't thought about this till now. he was Anakin's master, and he attempts to fix the problems and the wrong he did with Anakin. Not the wrong, but the mistake he made. Again, not mistake he made with Anakin by counseling Luke. And he was Luke's guardian angel, for lack of a better term.
No, that is a great term. Not lack of a better. That's a perfect one. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, it's early in the morning on the 4th, and I'm
we had to wake
very
up
tired.
really early to record this for you guys, so I hope
Yes.
you listeners are thankful.
Yeah. Anyway, I just think that I mean, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series did so much for him too. I think it sort of bridged the gap between the two characters and explained a bunch. He defeated Vader twice, and if Vader is to some the most powerful dark side user, and he defeated him twice, there's something to be said about that.
Yeah,
and
I would go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, for any of the perceived faults of that show, I don't think there was any faults in anything relating to McGregor or Obi-Wan, or the Obi-Wan Anakin situation.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I don't know what the story would be, but I would really love another season of that show.
Yeah,
to be honest, like I know
I would too, but the story has to be real good, and I don't know if you can top that first season.
I know, and I don't know what it would be, because I don't
think they could bring Maul back. Yeah,
I don't think they could get him off of Tatooine.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Can we just see twin sons in live action?
Yeah, right. That'd be cool.
But
that'd be cool.
Yeah, just a one-off. There's no. It's just a beat for beat replay of that in live action. It's fine.
Right.
So.
And you'd have to make him look older, I suppose.
I'll just wait a couple of years.
And he starts kind of talking like Alec Guinness. That would be cool too.
Yeah.
His accent starts changing a little bit. That'd be cool.
So he gains the accent. It changes because he's just talking to himself in the cave for so long.
Yeah, he's interviewing that pile of rocks for so long.
It's him doing that talk show. It's him moving into his house. Be like, oh,
right.
I'm gonna put Anakin's lightsaber in this box here.
Yeah.
Forget about it for 10 years.
And then I'll tell this kid that his dad wanted him to have it.
Yeah. And I hope the kid goes like this.
Yeah. It's right down the barrel of it. So Steve, he was yours. That's why we're talking about Obi-Wan.
Yes, he was also my number 2.
Your number 2. All right. So I feel like based on everything that we're talking about, this is going to be a surprise for you guys, but I think it's probably because the way, like I mentioned, I said, my criteria was, do they use the Force? And then how much do I love them as a character? My number 2 is Leia Organa.
Okay.
Wow.
Because she's Princess Goddamn Leia, and she's one of the greatest characters in all of Star Wars. So, and yes, she uses the Force quite dramatically in some ways that we see. So
that one would take it down a peg for me. I did not have her on my list strictly because in my brain I did not put 2 and 2 together on that.
Me too.
Mostly because we don't ever actually, outside of said scene you're mentioning,
Last Jedi, yeah,
we don't see any
Empire. Luke calls her at the end of Empire. She hears Luke's voice and turns the ship around.
Yeah, it doesn't mean she's using the Force.
Well, she's communicating through the Force, so she if you can't use,
she's not communicating back to him. He's just sending something to someone. She never says, "Hey, hang on," via the Force. Luke's just calling.
BRB.
I always interpreted that scene as, you would need to be a Force user in order to be able to receive that message.
Oh, see, I always took it as Luke's just doing a Find My iPhone and just sending it out.
I always thought it was him calling to her because he just kind of like felt a connection. He clearly doesn't know at that point that they're brother and sister, but he feels a connection with her, and that was his best option to get somebody to respond to him. I always, maybe, Wikipedia could tell me I'm wrong, but I always assumed that you couldn't hear that unless you were also a Force user. Like I don't think non-Force users can see Force ghosts. I could be wrong about that too, but I don't think a Force ghost could appear to like me, and
Either way, doesn't
Yeah,
need to be
either way.
doesn't need to be on the technicality because she is technically a Force user.
She's
So,
a Force user. Yeah. I just think she's one of the greatest, certainly one of the greatest female characters of all time, and one of the greatest characters in Star Wars. I've said this before, that I think, George Lucas gets a tremendous amount of deserved praise for one, creating this saga that we love so much, and also pioneering all the technical advancements that it took to create that first movie and all subsequent ones as well, or most of the subsequent ones anyway. But I think he doesn't get enough praise for, in 1977, putting an absolute badass, take no shit from any man that I'm in any scene with type of female character in a movie, up front and center. Like, you meet her before you meet Han Solo, you meet her before you meet Luke Skywalker. Like, she is the first named, besides the droids, she's the first named character that you meet in or hero I should say, that you meet in Star Wars, and she walks up right up to Darth Vader and doesn't take any shit from him at all. So when it comes to Force users, she's clearly, and she's so important. She's so important to the original trilogy and even the sequel trilogy as well. Like, she's important to the entire story. I love that no one was expecting her to show up in Obi-Wan, and that was
built the show around her.
Built the show around her, and something that we never thought of. We never thought we'd see a young Leia, and it was perfect. It made perfect sense to have her there. Deepened the character for sure. I feel like we're talking about that show a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
But deservedly. But also, the way that she's treated in the sequel trilogy, I think, is great. I think it's great that she's a general, like, and they go over this in Rise of Skywalker, where Luke did give her training, and she decided that she was better off in going back to being a general and leading a military general, and she could serve the Force or serve the galaxy better in that way. And I feel like it takes a strong person to know where they're needed the most, because, like, as we see, whether or not you like that scene in Last Jedi, I'm not arguing the merits of that scene, because it 100% doesn't work for me either. Although I think that if we had seen someone like Anakin or Luke do that in Last Jedi, I think people would have gone nuts for it and not had a problem with it. I think it was because we hadn't seen her use the Force to that extent ever before.
Right. Never overtly.
Never overtly. Yes, exactly. Whether or not the Empire thing counts,
right.
notwithstanding, never overtly like that. I think that was such a shock to people that made them doubt it. And also, we know that there's tons of misogynists, unfortunately, in the Star Wars fandom that don't think women should be able to do anything in Star Wars or even be in Star Wars. So, like, that's a part of it as well.
Right.
But, like, whether or not or it's just too over the top, it's too strong, it's too goofy, and part of me thinks that. But whether or not you enjoy that scene or not, it shows you, and I think the whole point of that scene, why that scene is in there, is they need to show you how powerful she is with the Force in general.
Yeah.
So whether or not you think that was executed as well as it could have been or whatever, it does show that. It does show how powerful she is with the Force. And for someone to be that powerful and that in tune with the Force, but still realize, no, I can do better if I give up this power. She walks away from all that power. She still has it. She knows she can use it, and she decides to go and utilize herself and her talents elsewhere.
Well,
in the galaxy. And I think that's commendable. And I think it takes a lot. It takes a strong person, a strong character, to not be not be seduced by that
Oh, yeah.
amount of power.
It does, and I mean, as you know, with great power comes great responsibility.
Great responsibility, and that's why my number one is Peter Parker.
Right.
Sorry.
Wait, no, wrong list. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, Leia didn't dawn on me, but like it makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just that was my like. I went, I
Right,
checked the box
by
for
that.
Force user, and then it was character love ranking.
Right.
Oh yeah,
So, and we did open it to all Force users, so
that's why I was Force
There
users
you
and
go.
not Jedi. Yeah, absolutely.
so that was your number 2.
That's my number 2. Here we are.
Matthew Beseda, who is your number 1?
Before I say my number 1, can I mention an honorable mention that I don't think is on anyone's list, but I think what he represents is important as a Force user.
Babu Frick.
Yeah. Broom Boy.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
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 He was not my number 1. I
just
can confirm that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also not my number 1. Yeah.
Sure. I think what he represents is important. He's not. I mean, Jedi and white side Force users are a beacon of hope, and that kid is just that.
Yeah, he represents the whole point of The Last Jedi is that anybody can do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the whole point, but it's a major
It's
theme
a-
in The Last
yeah, it's
Jedi
a-
is
it's
that
a
you don't
good
have
beat.
to. You can come from anywhere and still
Tamiri
be
Blag
important.
is his name.
Say that again.
Tamiri Blag.
Tamiri Blag.
Today I learned something.
Congratulations, Tamiri Blag. You made the honorable mention on the Multiverse Report.
Sounds like a marijuana. Anyway.
Dude, I got so high off a bunch of Tamiri Blag the other day. It was
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. It was. Anyway.
Hit me, Matt.
I'm very, very interested in your guys' number 1 because I think I know who it is for you guys.
I don't know if I know Mike's.
I've been throwing curveballs left and right, apparently.
And I don't think it's the same as mine. But
I think I know what yours.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I know.
Yeah, mine is Yoda.
That was my guess.
Yeah, which my sense is, it is not one of yours.
Yoda's number 6 on my list.
Yeah, I knew it. Can I guess your number 1? Can I guess your number 1?
Does the shirt give it away?
Yeah. Did I give you that shirt?
Yes, you did.
Nice. Secret Santa one year or birthday or something. Yeah. Nice.
So Yoda is your number 1. Mike?
Yoda is would also be my number 6. He's not on my top 5. Yeah. And again, that for me, I love Yoda. I love Yoda. But for me, it's the similar thing to what I said about Obi-Wan, where like
that is the creepiest Yoda, by the way.
It's very creepy. The way he's depicted in Empire and Return of the Jedi to me is very different than the way he's depicted in the prequel films. He seems like humorless, and he's kind of an a-hole to young Anakin, a frightened boy that's standing in front of him. So the prequels ding Yoda for me a little bit, but I still I love him immensely. I love him immensely. It pains me to not have a top 5 list where I could put Yoda. Yeah.
Sure.
Also possibly my favorite Star Wars theme, John Williams theme, is Yoda's theme.
I mean, what a beautiful piece.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
I think he is the most purest form of goodness in the galaxy. I think he you know, I just you think of Yoda and you think of the Force.
Yeah.
You know, it's he. I mean, we assume he's a he. I don't know. It's and for all the faults of George Lucas during the prequel era, you have this smash hit in Star Wars, and then you go to Empire Strikes Back, and the guy that is going to guide this film and be the centerpiece is going to train your main protagonist is a green frog like character. You know, it's incredible.
Literally a Muppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not British, you don't get that reference. But
yeah, there was an interview in that great documentary Empire Dreams.
Yeah.
That I stole that from, but it's Yoda is just pure goodness, and you take the light side and yeah,
pure goodness, but also you see through the course that he's flawed and that he's not omnipotent.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that does help his character to a degree, but also like Mike, like you said, how we get much like the Obi-Wan jump from 3 to 4, how do we get from episode 3 to smacking R2 with a stick in Empire?
That's like one of my I like the duality of Yoda in the original trilogy and also in Last Jedi as well. I think Last Jedi Yoda feels more like Empire Strikes Back Yoda than
very much
prequel Yoda does. Because in Empire Strikes Back and also in Last Jedi, he's just like a little stinker.
Yeah.
You know, like he's just like causing trouble and like making himself laugh and shit. Like he's just
we are what they grow beyond. My favorite
and he's got
Yoda
some
quote.
of the greatest lines in all of Star Wars. His thing in Last Jedi is incredible. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. And Empire is wild, so good. He's like, not only like good and powerful in the Force, like you were saying, Matt, but like he's just so the wisdom that he has, and they give him the quirk of the strange syntax talking. Which also
good relations I have with the Wookiees
makes him sound.
I love that line.
The syntax talking makes him sound more wise in some way, even though he's talking wrong. Like it seemed like it makes everything he says seem like more like ancient wisdom or something.
Like
also,
people haven't spoken like this in thousands of years.
But in Tales of the Jedi, Yaddle doesn't speak like that.
Correct. I believe it is.
We realize that he's just drunk all the time and doesn't know how to talk.
Yeah, I can't remember which Star Wars podcast I was listening to that someone looked this up on it and said that, and it just turns out that he just chooses to talk that way, which I think is a stupid explanation.
We still have, and never will know what species he is, so whatever.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I like it as a character choice, I guess. I wish that it wasn't just, he just decides to talk like that, because that doesn't make any sense at all. Yoda's the best, and he's always like,
well, Yoda's number 6 for you and I.
Yeah,
so he's not the best.
He's the best number 6 in all the land of sixes. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about him really. It's just everyone knows he's Yoda.
He's Yoda.
Yoda.
Bravo, weirdo.
Thanks.
We were listening to that the other day.
So this is interesting. This is really cool that I feel like both our lists have been more different than I expected them to be.
Yeah.
And neither list, dark side or light side, none of us shared a number 1, which I think is interesting. But Steve, you already for the listeners that can't see your shirt, why don't you go ahead and reveal what your number 1 light side Force user is?
None other than Snips herself, Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano.
Because
she did not appear on Matt's list, I believe. Not on your top 5
She
list.
did not.
She was number 5 on my list.
So,
Steve, let's talk Ahsoka. Hit us.
I mentioned earlier that most of my lists were based off of arcs and growth as a character. And I don't think there is another character in Star Wars that has taken the growth and taken the arc and taken the limelight of an entire show from being an annoying side character to the centerpiece of multiple seasons of a show to having her own live action show.
Yeah.
Like that arc. I still remember when Clone Wars debuted and I was just like, what the hell is this? Anakin doesn't need a Padawan. What's going on? And at some point, a couple years later, like a couple seasons in, looking at it and being like, holy shit, she's the best character on this show.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Like, I don't know how or why, but she just, like, her growth and the trials and tribulations she went through, along with how she interacts with and the influence she had on both Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's just impact.
And you know, you say that she's been in this show, she's been in Rebels, and she was in her own live action series, and you mentioned her arc. Like in every one of those series, there's never she's always arcing. She's always progressing,
always character growth
as a character. She's always developing. There's never like, it's not like she showed up in Rebels and was just, hey, I'm Ahsoka, I'm here to help out, and it was just like a background character or just a cameo or something. Like she has a deep arc in Rebels,
right,
as well as Clone Wars, as well as her own series, and of course she's going to have it in her own series. I mean, I guess you would assume she would have it in her own series.
But even in Mandalorian, like she shows up twice in Mandalorian, and both times they make sense. It's not just like throwing Ahsoka in for throwing Ahsoka in. It's like, oh, okay, like her being where she is at any of these points, makes perfect sense. So
I agree. I think and I think I was talking to Jesse at Funky Town when the series was on, the Ahsoka series, and I'm pretty sure that she's had more screen time than possibly any other Star Wars character collectively, including like Luke Skywalker or maybe even Vader at this point. Like
definitely over any of the OT.
Certainly over the OT. You know, with the amount of time she's been on Clone Wars and Rebels and in her series, but also probably rivaling, like, who else? Maybe, I mean, not actor, but maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi is possibly, or Anakin.
Or
like,
Anakin.
Those got to be the only two that could possibly, you know, give her a run for her money. But I feel like,
and that's only if you give Anakin Vader as well.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and there's definitely like plenty of episodes where she's in it way more than Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Oh, 100%.
You know, I feel like there's more episodes where it's just her.
You've
than
got the
there
whole
are episodes
arcs
where
with
it's
like
just
her
Obi-Wan
and
and just Anakin.
Right. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. And like, even I brought up Mortis earlier, but even her stuff in Mortis is also forefront. Like, each of those three has a very distinct part of that, but it's like, they find a way to feature her in a lot of things. And Filoni really, like, it's Filoni's baby, like 100%.
Yeah.
But
he'll always find a way to feature her.
Right. But it's always been done in a way that works or makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, also don't forget Tales of the Jedi. She's the other, you know, we talked about how Dooku's Tales of the Jedi, but she's the other half of that series.
Right.
I think they did a great job. Like, I believe, was it George's idea? I guess it was maybe Dave Filoni's. Was it George's idea to give Anakin a Padawan?
I can't remember. I actually remember
I feel like it was
reading
Lucas's idea, and then Filoni just created the character. But I think the idea of giving Anakin a Padawan is a really cool one that I don't think we thought was possible.
Right.
And then, like you said, she starts out being kind of like an annoying kid. But but it's a really smart idea to have that character be a Padawan to Anakin Skywalker, because it immediately links them to all the other main characters, because a lot of the other main characters are linked to Anakin already. So that ties her into the main storyline of Star Wars immediately, but also gives her free reign to go and do her own things and be her own character. And she is not a Skywalker. She's not tied into the family. But she does love Anakin in a different way and sees him from a different way and experiences him in different ways. And so when we do see her interact with Anakin or Obi-Wan or like it, or later when we see her, we see her in Rebels, we see her in, when she meets Darth Maul, we know that she's fought him in Clone Wars. We also know that she knows that Obi-Wan killed him and he came back to life to try to kill Obi-Wan. Like, she's a part of this lineage.
Right.
In a way that other, Ventress isn't, because she doesn't have that direct connection to Anakin. She doesn't study next to him or like a main character or anything like that. So it immediately puts her, immediately ties her into like the core, makes her a core character, I think.
Right.
Immediately. And that's a decision, if Anakin's not a master, then he can't have a Padawan. Well, guess what? That's not true.
Yeah. Well, and even in that, even within the arc, like, her whole thing of having the strength to step away from the Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, after they accuse her of the bombing, and then she's just like, no, like they all are like, oh, we're sorry, come on back.
All right, come on back.
She's like, no, like,
you,
that's not what I'm doing. That's not where I'm at.
Yeah.
And it fits and it works. And weirdly, seeing now what we're apparently going to see of Barriss turning into an Inquisitor adds another level to that arc. But it just, I am no Jedi.
I know.
Like,
so cool.
Those 4 words, when she uttered them in Rebels, it was just like,
yeah,
it just hit.
Yeah, and how weighty is that fight with Vader? That because you know the history, you've seen Clone Wars, and then when she shows up, I remember losing my mind in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
when she's
was that Book of Boba Fett, not Mandalorian? Whatever, they're the same show.
She's in an episode of Mandalorian, but then
when I said 2, I was thinking that was that.
Yeah, because that is more of a Mandalorian episode.
The one with Morgan Elsbeth, right? Or no,
that one is the Mandalorian episode.
That's
but then
Mandalorian.
She's with Luke and Grogu.
Okay, so that was the Book of Boba Fett one. Whatever, they're all the same. Those 3 seasons are the same show. 4 seasons.
And just seeing that, and I remember just my mind being completely blown. Like, I'm seeing Ahsoka Tano is talking to Luke Skywalker right now. Like this.
Yeah.
What?
I think even the first time we see her in Mandalorian, it was sort of expected.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of teased by Bo-Katan in the previous episode.
Yeah.
But the first time you see her with those revealed the double white lightsabers, I mean, it's so badass.
Yeah, so cool.
I mean, when you can make your kyber crystals, when your kyber crystal color is determined because you didn't have any, killed a Sith, and then purified their crystals, sure.
Yeah.
Like, even just little details like that, you're like, all right,
yeah,
that's why you're number 1 for me.
That's why. Well, she's not number 1 for me. My number 1 is Luke Skywalker,
the farm boy himself.
Yep, like I said, I'm not reinventing the wheel here.
No
picks, but
the fact that we, like you said, all 3 of us distinctly different number ones.
Great. I love it. That's why I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I love Star Wars. People see the same thing and take wildly different things away from it, connect to different things, interpret things in different ways. Luke Skywalker is my childhood hero. I love him. Not the I think I said this earlier in the episode. I don't know. It seems like it was 4 hours ago. I don't think he's necessarily the greatest Jedi of all time. A lot of people would argue that. He doesn't feel the Force until he's 19 years old or whatever, and even struggles to adapt to it or to start to use it. But it is that persistence that makes me love him so much.
Yeah.
He's determined to become this thing that he's only dreamed about. He wants to embrace and or correct his father's legacy and put things right, set the galaxy right, and he works hard to do it and get there. Is he completely successful in it? I don't know. I don't know that as much as I love the original trilogy, those movies are in my heart, and those are the reasons that I fell in love with Luke Skywalker to begin with, and all of his moral standing. I don't know that he would be number one if it wasn't for his arc in The Last Jedi and what he does at the end of The Last Jedi. Realizing that he still can be a help to the Resistance despite being too old to face down the entire First Order with a laser sword. He's too old to fight Kylo Ren hand to hand, but he figures out a way to do it, sacrifices himself doing it, and becomes the legend that the galaxy needs Luke Skywalker to be.
Yeah.
That I need Luke Skywalker to be. He finds a way to do that. And it's those moments at the end of The Last Jedi that really, for me, cement him as my favorite Force user, I would say.
Fair. He was number
Yeah,
3 for me, which
He's number 4 for Matt. Yeah, lower,
Yeah.
way lower than I expected Matt to have.
Well, it switched many times for me.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think I was telling you before the pod, Matt, my top 3, or what was it? It was mostly 2, 3, and 4. We're kind of all bouncing around.
sure.
And
Yeah.
hell, Maul and Vader was back and forth until today.
Mm.
But yeah,
Luke, and I think you, to Mike's point, you need that. You need that failure.
yeah,
To
it's the hero's journey.
Yeah.
I think Yoda even says, on the scene,
Greatest failure
where-
teacher, or greatest teacher
yeah.
failure is.
yeah, and it's just so true. For me, my favorite scene in Star Wars ever is the end of Force Awakens, where Rey finds Luke, because it's so, oh my god, like this is the legend that I grew up idolizing, that you guys grew up idolizing.
Yeah.
And this is what he looks like 30 years later. It's just it's just so God, it's so cool when he turns around and the hand, it just he that scene in Last Jedi, how he was able to help in some way, using brains over brawn. Is just brilliant.
Well, and coming to terms with
that
everything
movie
with Ben.
That movie will never get the respect it deserves.
I'd agree. I think all 3 of us would agree.
I think it gets the respect it deserves from anyone that likes it. Gets it. And I don't. I mean, Empire Strikes Back wasn't universally praised when it came out either. So who knows what 20 years will look like on that movie? But people will still get mad about it. Whatever, 5 years later. So
yeah,
sure.
Maybe things aren't maybe not looking good. But
well, again, the arcs though, like we see
exactly.
Farm Boy all the way to Jedi Master.
Yeah,
and of my list, I think pretty much everyone except Obi-Wan, you saw their arc. Although Obi-Wan, to a degree, like, it was the sacrifice and whatnot, but a very different arc. Like, there was plenty of character growth. But Luke was, like you said, it's just no matter what, he's going to be in my top 5 somewhere. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't care who or how much Star Wars comes out or how compelling anything is. Luke Skywalker will always be near the top of the list.
It would take a lot to get him out of my top 5.
Yeah,
for sure. Take a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
So.
Yeah, and then also the moment in Return of the Jedi, which speaks to his decision in Last Jedi, I think, where when he realizes he's pushing too hard. He cuts Vader's hand off. He looks at his own hand. He throws his lightsaber away.
Yeah.
He doesn't just put it back in his belt. He throws it away. Like, I'm not going to solve this with violence. Jedi's,
I literally
forced for knowledge and defense and not attack.
You
so,
mentioning
no, I'm not
this?
going to fight you. I'm not going to fight you.
Like, I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Father before me. Yeah.
Like, every time I hear that line, I get chills.
Yeah.
And as I said it, I'm like, oh, that's a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, to face down Palpatine, to do everything that he did. Yeah. It's to consciously have the faith that to have the faith in the Force that something will get you out of this situation.
Yeah.
And just do the right thing.
He's so loyal to his friends, almost to his detriment. You know, it's.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I think we did it, guys.
We did.
I think
Should we see what the commentariat had though?
Yes. What did our listeners say? And let's wrap this up because it's almost midnight and we've been talking a very long time.
And we started early on Saturday, so it's been like 24 hours.
Yeah, I know.
You mean midnight Pacific time because it's May 4th,
I mean, you're right. Sorry, you're right. I meant Pacific time.
The people that are watching live are like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. So we got a bunch of singular votes. One for Kyle Katarn, who I mentioned as a dual Force user from the EU. Actually from the Jedi Knight series of games, which was awesome. We have a Kit Fisto.
Oh,
which
nice.
I do love me some Kit Fisto.
I love his eyes.
We have a vote for Rey, a vote for Anakin. Because remember, we only asked the populace their favorite.
Their favorite.
We gave our top 5. This is just the favorite. We do have one Chirrut Imwe.
Wow. Now, he's never specified as a Force user, though. He believes in the Force.
If you can walk through that blaster field chanting, I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's never outright shown or stated, though. I agree with you.
No, that is from a friend of the pod and your band member.
Okay.
Well, actually, that doesn't really narrow it down. It's Mark.
Well, it kind of does. Oh, okay.
Mark.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give it to him.
No, I'll allow it.
Next up, with multiple votes each, Qui-Gon Jinn and Kanan Jarrus.
Woo, Kanan.
The next tier is a 4-way tie between Yoda, Mace Windu. Mace
Put
Windu.
Mace on the window.
That's what he went through on the way out of the tower. Got it. Okay. That was the Mace Windu.
Yeah, there's a little plaque if you look there now. They call it the Mace Windu. They dedicated it to him.
That would have been so great in Revenge of the Sith if he didn't use Force Lightning, but he used Mace. Just get out there.
Yeah, it would be great.
You're done.
Yeah.
So Yoda, Mace Windu, Luke, and Ahsoka.
Wow.
Are a 4-way tie for second. And in first place,
it's gotta be Obi-Wan.
Hello there.
Well, sorry, all you
Obi-Wan
listeners,
Kenobi.
that I shadow over Obi-Wan in this episode.
The
about
populace
that.
loves them some Obi-Wan.
He'd be in my top 10. He'd probably be number 7
Fair enough.
after Yoda, but not 5.
So we did have a couple that were like, one person said growing up it was Luke, now it's Obi-Wan. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Wonder what changed.
life
More time,
changed.
more maybe Clone Wars, maybe more like screen time with Obi-Wan.
We did have an Obi-Wan vote that also had a Rey shout out attached to it.
Nice.
And then
Rey.
Kit Fisto's vote was Kit deserved better, which he did.
Yeah, he definitely did.
He got
Yeah.
done dirty in Revenge of the Sith.
Real dirty.
So
Doesn't even put up a fight.
nope. But
Boo.
I believe that wraps.
Who's
it
the
up.
guy? Who's the guy? God, I love him. Tall head guy.
Ki-Adi-Mundi?
Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Yeah. Oh. What about the Wookiees?
There's a lot of weird things that happened with him after the fact. His species. Yeah, never mind. We'll talk about this some
Yeah,
other
we'll
time.
have to get into that another time
it's
because
quite late,
he-
and yeah.
He was a
Quite
hooker
early.
or something, or he liked hookers.
No, but
Sex workers?
yeah, there's a whole, yeah, whatever. We're not
Yeah,
diving down
sorry.
that rabbit hole.
yeah, let's not dive down the Ki-Adi-Mundi Wikipedia page because we did it.
We did.
We counted down our top 5 dark side and light side Force users. And we want to say thank you so much for listening to this episode, joining us on this very special May the 4th episode of the Multiverse Report. Matthew Beseda, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
and joining us
guys.
again.
I love it, and I look forward to next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have to start planning next year immediately.
I think we already
And I think
planned it.
that's all we. What's that?
I think we already figured out what we were doing.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, like and subscribe to us if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. You can also subscribe to us on like podcast apps and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that kind of stuff. Check out our Patreon if you want to be a member of our Patreon and get some cool stuff from us there.
So links
And,
for all that are in the show notes.
Yeah.
There should be links to the full show note. Well, this one we don't have full show notes, but those are always in the. I modified all the YouTube stuff, so there's links and
Nice.
cool things. So check out
Cool.
check out all our socials. Everything else should be in the show notes. Be it email, be it our website, be it the socials you want to hit. Any of that. Like, follow, subscribe, and check out the Patreon.
And so, as the 2 suns set on the burnt corpses of Owen and Baru Lars, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multi.